very mad at Tanner Houck for robbing me of the ability to use Sweet Caroline as an intro today. The Guardians could have swept the Red Sox in Fenway. Nonetheless, the Guardians did take 3 of 4 in Fenway. If I'd have told you that going into the series, I think you would have been pretty happy with that. So we'll touch on the Guardians, another tough road win to wrap up that series. We'll get into the future of Triston McKenzie's pitching elbow. And of course, the weekend is ahead, so we've got to talk some college baseball and MLB draft. It's time for Locked On Guardians.
You are Locked On Guardians, your daily podcast on the Cleveland Guardians. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks, the fastest, easiest, and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnMLB and use the code, all lowercase, LockedOnMLB, for a first deposit match up to $100. I'm Jeff Ellis. For those who are concerned, yes, I am still alive after all of my bragging that nothing would kill me at one point in the show. People had a really fun time with me coughing towards the end there. And no, I survived. As I said yesterday, nothing can kill me. What is it in like Goldeneye? I am invincible. And then probably can't get away with that anymore, right? Like having Alan Cummings pretend to be Russian. Now that I've had some musings to get us all in trouble. I'm Jeff. I have been at the helm of this podcast since it started, and the helm of the baseball side of the network since it started. You can find me here and all of our draft content. I don't know what we're doing with that this year, but I'm sure at some point they will be reaching out. Before that, I was a lead draft and prospect analyst for Scouting 24/7.
I am Justin. I don't have any current health maladies, knock on wood, although it is allergy season. I've been here a little over a year now. It'll be 2 years in October, but before that, I've also been on every Cleveland sports blog and was the managing editor of Guardians Baseball Insider from 2018. It was Indians Baseball Insider then from 2018 to 2022 or 2023. And I've been freelancing for the New Saturday Morning Journal covering Guardians, Indians farm system going back about a decade now. So I was full time.
You and I started in the same year, of course. That's the humor of that.
Yeah. Oof. I will be at I was supposed to be my first captain's game 2 Fridays ago for the home opener that got rained out. So officially my first game will be Friday today as people are listening to us, hopefully. That'll be year 17 for me, which is pretty hard to believe. I just saw a clip on Twitter of Trot Nixon's kid hitting a home run, and that kind of shook me. I'm not going to lie. I was in high school when Trot Nixon was with the Indians and all of his antics with the pies, if you remember. The broadcast was really different back then because I remember looking at those clips and they didn't have like a dugout reporter. There was no Andre Knott back then. It was just Rick and Matt from the booth, and then somebody gave somebody a headset down there to wear after games, and then Trot Nixon would come out with his pie and he would get everybody in the face during the interviews, which was a lot of fun. He was the Austin Hedges of that group, I think.
Except for I think somehow worse as a hitter.
I don't know if that's possible.
He was pretty bad. The one thing he never got to do was a trot. It felt like that year.
He did. I think he had a home run against the Red Sox in the playoffs that year, or maybe it was the Yankees.
I don't know. It was not a great year for him. We've already doomed this show. Like now we're talking history. What are you doing to us, Dustin? You've had us lead off with history, so now we're just hosed.
No, our numbers are going to tank because
they lost on tank numbers. He had 3 home runs that year: 251, 342. 336, 677 OPS. I mean, 677 OPS, that sounds like heaven based on what outfielders have done in Cleveland the past few years.
I think Austin Hedges dreams of that as his OPS. I don't think that's a reality anywhere. Not since like 2019. But he didn't play on Thursday. He was a good cheerleader on the bench. We saw him, and the broadcast brought up that as the Red Sox were trying to make a comeback, that Hedges was telling the team as they came back to the dugout, like, we need to keep up our energy. We need to make sure they don't come back because winning in Fenway is hard. I know the Red Sox, Tanner Houck pitched really well on Wednesday. And then Thursday, they kind of had they had an opener with Brendan Bernardino, who Cleveland actually couldn't really hit. And then they had Cooper Criswell in there after that, who they did a little bit better job with. But and the Red Sox lineup was pretty awful on Thursday. I saw a tweet somewhere that's saying that like their combined lineup that day made like
Red Sox are cheaps.
Oof. It's pretty bad. I got to go look up the tweet now because I think it was
8.8 million combined if you count their entire lineup and their broadcast crew. It was 8.8 million.
It's pretty bad. So, but winning at Fenway, my whole point was it's hard to win at that park because weird things happen. You've got, the green monster, like we talked about. You've got not a lot of foul room there. You got Pesky's pole, the triangle in center, the short bullpens, all the fences are short in right field. So, and the way the wind is, it's a very weird ballpark. So it's hard to win there no matter what happens. And, if I would have told anybody that the Guardians were going to win 3 or 4 in Fenway after that series with the Yankees, I think most people would have been very,
I would have taken it before a road trip. Like if you told me that this is how it was going, like, are they back to the best record in baseball? I haven't checked. I mean, it's just been, it's so much fun.
In winning percentage with the Yankees.
Yeah. Like it's just fun. Like right now it is a team where this team has no business doing this with the way the pitching staff has been beat up. And yes, we all focus on the Bieber of it all, or the McKenzie struggles, or the Gavin Williams, but like Lively and Curry recovering from illness, Henches, Stefan, like they have taken more hits to this pitching staff than I've
Gavin
staff in baseball. It's like they've lost 3 starters, in the first 2 weeks. We're extended for some periods of time, 4 starters, with Curry and multiple relievers. And here they are. They're still standing after all this time.
Elton John. To Brian Shaw. Brian Shaw was using that warm-up song for a while. He signed with that.
Oh, good. He signed somewhere.
Was it the Angels? That's the Angels, of course, because they just lost Robert Stevenson for the year. But anyway, I think this feels. I'm going to ask people if they can weigh in on it on YouTube or Twitter, but I feel like this is a good thing. Like starting pitching obviously hasn't found their groove. This is 12 consecutive games without a pitcher completing 6 innings. They're 8-4 in those 12 games, which is impressive. Jose really, I mean, I know he got robbed a couple times by Weiler Abreu in Boston,
but he's still not performing.
Yeah, so I gotta feel like it's a good sign that the Guardians are playing this well, and the starting pitching has been, a 5 out of 10, maybe a 4 out of 10 at best, the way things are going. And
I mean, I almost feel like closer to a 3. We still haven't got that 6 innings. We thought that innings,
so
and again, that's your fault. You texted me like Carrasco is going to be the one who finally gets us over the 6. And
I was so close.
He's out of the game.
So close. But yeah, the starting pitching hasn't been good, and it hasn't been great. I guess it's been okay, whatever, if you want to say okay. And Jose Ramirez hasn't really gotten things together yet. So does that make you feel better about how this team is playing right now? That the 2 things that are generally a constant for them is starting pitching and Jose Ramirez have not shown up yet, and they are, 13-6 now?
Yeah, I mean, to me it does, because a lot of what they're doing is things that's somewhat sustainable. Like Hunter Gaddis, I don't think is going to remain the Terminator all year on the mound, but maybe he just completely does that. But even so Cade Smith, he's had 2 rough outings in a row. He'll rebound. This is just a young player having those moments. And it was terrible weather today. He caught a cleat. He was unlucky. There's going to be some of that. Like some of these high-end guys aren't going to stay perfect all year. Tim Herron's going to have blips. Like I said, Gaddis. But when you look through that lineup, you look at what hitters are doing. Yeah, there's some regression coming probably with Jimenez as well. But a lot of it's sustainable. So that's what makes me excited. The best parts haven't clicked yet. Even if Triston McKenzie has health issues, we'll get to that. It's like eventually you're getting Williams back. I'm not as concerned about Williams. The rotation will get a chance to stabilize, and you got young guys, both pitchers and hitters on the cusp. We've talked many times. You and I both are looking forward to when Nick Enright makes that debut for this team this year, which he should, but Manzardo is starting to show some signs of life down there. We're hoping to see DeLauder kind of turn around as well. There's young guys that can help. There's sustainability in what they're doing. And the manager is right now just Tito is fantastic. but it's a breath of fresh air with Vogt and the way he is making all the right calls, and he's using that whole bench.
Yeah, David Fry played left field. That was an interesting play for the Guardians and Stephen Vogt because, again, the outfield in Fenway is just very hard to navigate no matter what position you play in. Left field might be the hardest. David Fry, not really a left fielder, but hey, he ended up having a double. He scored a run, so that was important. It didn't cost him anything defensively. I think he made a catch at the wall, so good for him. And this is the 17th lineup in 18. It was the 17th lineup in 18 games coming into today, so I think that's the 18th lineup in 19 games, which is unbelievable. Everyone's getting a chance, and if you perform, you're going to keep playing, and if not, you'll get to come back in because early on, Will Brennan wasn't really hitting. Everybody's had some streakiness except for like Josh Naylor. Essentially, is the only one who has been on fire. Jimenez has waned a little bit, and Fry has been good every chance he's gotten in there. But if you're hot, you're going to be in the lineup. Vogt will find a way, and if you're not, he'll come back around to you. Like Florial didn't play a lot earlier, had a couple of good games. He got in there. He's not hot again, and he's out. But I'm sure he'll get back in there, and we'll see. So it's been a lot of fun to see that and take advantage of this entire roster because that's honestly how Cleveland needs to win. And you're putting your guys in position to win, and the calls have been good. Maybe all the calls won't always be that good for Vogt, but I'm all for the strategy. I think it's really good. We still have to talk about Carlos Carrasco a little bit. I want to talk a little more about Hunter Gaddis. We'll talk about Triston McKenzie's elbow and his injury admissions, and we'll talk about the Oakland series ahead. And, of course, some draft strategy talk heading into another college baseball weekend. So got all that to look forward to. Before we look forward to all of that, though, you can look forward to winning some money on FanDuel because it is playoff time in the NBA. The Cavs start on Saturday. I don't know how good you would feel betting on the Cavs. They are playing Orlando, which I guess is a preferred matchup to the 76ers, but things are kind of weird right now. You have the NHL. I watch hockey, but I got to say the Stanley Cup playoffs are always super exciting.
Level up.
Yeah, I don't always watch regular season hockey. I go to some Cleveland Monsters games, but I
beast.
I just enjoy playoff hockey. It's like baseball. It's very different. So baseball is also in full swing, and FanDuel is a place where you can bet on every game. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets, guaranteed. $150, win or lose. So why wouldn't you want to take advantage of some free money and try to win some more? It's my favorite thing to do on FanDuel. Bet anything from slap shots, home runs, slam dunks, three-pointers, because hopefully the Cavs make a lot of three-pointers. All on the app that is safe and secure and easy to use. With cybersecurity today, you have to rely on an app that is secure to all your information stored on there, and FanDuel has that. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet an automatic win. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. And as the Guardians come back home for this Oakland series over the weekend, you can catch all the action on your SiriusXM app. Just search Guardians. You can listen to that game while you're at the Cavs game, watching the Cavs game Saturday, or whatever you're doing around the yard in the weekend. I think it's going to be a decent weather weekend in Cleveland. So wherever you're out and about, listen to the Guardians on SiriusXM. I'm really pleased to say that Carlos Carrasco had a positive start. His first inning was about 30 pitches. I think it was 29 officially. But after that, he averaged 13 pitches an inning. I think he had a couple of innings where he was below 10 pitches, had like a 13-pitch inning. So I'm not sure what changed. I thought for a second I saw that he moved over to the first base side of the rubber more, but I went back and looked, and he was there the whole time. So it just kind of looked like he was honestly throwing his stuff down the middle and letting the movement take care of itself, which is kind of what the Tampa Bay always preaches is, just throw it in the strike zone and let the movement play off of it. And it worked. He still walked 3 batters, but two in the first inning. So I don't know if this means he's going to be much better going forward, but I was at least pleased to see that because he got really close to breaking that streak of 6 innings. Of course he didn't. And that was also, I know some people were not happy that Vogt took him out. But it was the top of the order at that point, and it was the third time through, and he had a lot of base runners. So I know Cade Smith kind of struggled, like we said, but, a little bad luck and the cleat and all that. So not going to get too upset about that. But the thing, too, about Carrasco is I see a lot of people who are upset about, like, Xavier Curry not being up and Carrasco, quote unquote, not having earned this. Look, Carrasco is going to be here at least until Gavin Williams comes back. When he comes back and he's ready, they'll have to make a decision, and that decision might be made for them at some point, because this is usually how it works. But I hope it's better for Carrasco. I hope this is a sign of better things to come, because he is going to be here until Williams comes back, and who knows what will happen up until then. But he is going to be here at least for another month, and hopefully, he throws more strikes in the meantime.
Yeah, it's just that's when the problem. It's for a guy who, he is not he's not a spring chicken, let's be honest. And the command that was kind of part of his specialty that, he was so good about, it's just not there anymore. So he battles, and he's riding a thin line. And at some point it feels like it's going to just be a game where he gives up like 10 runs before he gets pulled. It hasn't happened yet, but he's going to be the guy. And in terms of Curry, it's just, he needs to build his arm strength up and get back. He missed all that time with that stupid viral infection that just really is still hurting this team now. So Carrasco is a fine filler. Could they do better? I mean, not in free agency. Starting pitching market got destroyed at the end there. He's okay. Would I like to see maybe a better candidate? Absolutely. But in this situation where they're down 2 starters, he has been fine. I'll be curious to see when Williams comes, does Lively go back to the pen? If he keeps pitching like he does, the answer, like he did last time, the answer is no. But if he pitches like he's traditionally pitched, I mean, he was not signed to be a 5th starter. Let's be honest. He was signed to be a long man and a depth filler. So I'll be curious to see what they do. I mean, Carrasco did enough. Cade Smith had a hard moment, and then Heron and Gaddis in Class A was great too. But man, Heron and Gaddis, and just I already talked about him once, but you cannot stop praising those 2 dudes. Like they've brought so much stability to the pen with what they have done that, like, I feel like that resonates through the whole pen. Like it's changed. You and I were a little concerned about this pen, and now it is like the strength of this team, in big part because those 2 guys have been just nails.
Yeah, it's hard to rely on young pitchers, but when they do this well, it's very fun. Speaking of relievers, and I want another point about what you said about Curry too. I know, look, it's a long season. They're 19 games into a 162 game season, and we've already seen the pitching staff decimated with injuries this early on, and a lot of teams are facing pitching injuries. So Curry being in AAA is more about trying to get through the next 140 games, right? 141 games. It's not about right now. It's about the long haul, and this division's wide open. They're playing well. They're banking wins. You've got to be ready for the whole time. And Carrasco doesn't have options. Lively doesn't have options, as we talked about. And
he's got all the options.
He's got all the options.
All the options. The man has options.
Speaking of the bullpen, who do you think is second? Unfortunately, Shane Bieber is still leading this team pitching, and WAR in a season is not a great way to determine things. By the way, it's not what it was meant for. But I just think it's interesting that Shane Bieber leads the pitchers in F WAR right now, FanGraphs WAR. Who do you think is number 2 on the team in FanGraphs WAR among pitchers?
I would be tempted to guess Gaddis, just because I feel like he's had so many innings and he's been.
It's
really
Hunter
good.
Gaddis, Hunter Gaddis, and Emmanuel Clase. After
I gotta interrupt
Thursday's
you.
Win. Yes,
Dave Wendell every day. Are you gonna? You gotta address this in the comments, man. I appreciate a lot of your comments. You had a great one last week about their runs scored. We have some fun with you at times. But come on, you have to, after last year's comments and consistent comments at Gaddis, we got to hear from you in the comments, dude. I'm going to call you out right now just because you were the biggest Gaddis hater. So what do you think has changed? I'd be curious to see your take. You have some great ones. So I'm just having some fun with you here. I hope you understand. This is not a picking on. It's just like having some fun with what Gaddis has become.
Hunter Gaddis is 6th in baseball in F4 among relievers. Again, not a perfect stat to judge pitchers by in season or even relievers, but he is actually he's tied with Class A and just having a ridiculous turnaround. So good for Hunter Gaddis. It's so fun. All right, we got to talk about Triston McKenzie's elbow still, some draft stuff, looking ahead to Oakland. So we are going to get to all that finally on today's Locked On Guardians.
Prize Picks you know what I'm going to tell you about them because I talk about them all the time on this show here. What I love about Prize Picks is that when you are playing, it's not you versus someone who is a PhD in math who has computer programming skills and is running an R program to figure out 1,000 outcomes of who is going to have the best production of the day. You don't have to worry about that. Instead, all you have to do is pick more or less. It's that simple. You're going to go, and I'm pulling up the app right now. So if I go to Major League Baseball, Trea Turner, 1.5 total bases against the White Sox, take more, right? Like that's pretty straightforward. 6.5 pitcher strikeouts for Garrett Crochet versus the Phillies. I might take more on that one as well. And that's all you do. You're picking categories. You pick a stat category, you pick more or less, and you go from there. It is daily fantasy boiled down in a way that is simple, and it's fantastic that you just have to beat the numbers. You don't have to beat anyone else. It is just strictly you versus the numbers. Download the app, use the code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. That's the code LOCKEDONMLB. You can use the website like I just did, or download the app. That is all lowercase, all one word. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy.
Wish I had that option in high school. I was not a fan of math. I wish I could also beat the numbers.
You just wanted to beat him with a bat. You wanted to do that scene from, I won't say the movie. Here will be quick shout out to John Fagan, one of our everydayers, the only one who mentioned that the reference to Who Wants to Live Forever being from Highlander. What's the movie where they
song from Queen?
Yeah, it's a Queen song from Highlander right before he and his lady have a tender moment. But what is the reference to beating things with in and out objects with baseball bats? Name that movie.
I wanted to go Casey Jones on it. That's what I wanted to do. There's a good reference there too.
It's a good. I mean, I've got the Turtles machine back here.
I know.
Shredder's Revenge is an absolutely fantastic game. If you're
it is. Don't forget to listen to the Guardians on your Sirius XM app all weekend while you're out playing some street hockey or something. Who knows? All right. Unfortunately, on a more serious subject, Triston McKenzie is going to start this weekend. He's still pitching. Hasn't been going very well, but the article on The Athletic from our friend of the show, Zach Meisel, and Jason Lloyd also was in that article. Not really new news, because Zach did an article a few weeks ago or last week even on just guys who are having elbow pain and the whole Tommy John thing going around baseball right now. It's another round of injuries. But McKenzie, essentially admitted that we knew that he had a tear in his UCL, and that it was the first time I saw that he had a tear that was higher in the tendon versus lower. And apparently there's a difference in how much you're able to pitch. I don't want to give the whole article away. You should go read it. But he admits, he doesn't know if he made the right decision. He thinks he did. He says he's pain-free, and it does weigh in the back of his mind that, every time he feels something in his elbow, is this going to be it? Is this when it's going to get me? And I have to say, I feel like that's kind of how he was in the minors. It's a bad way to pitch, Not only, would you maybe potentially be pitching through pain, but you're also worried about pain. You're worried about surgery. And I also can't say I blame him, because he's at a point in his career, like nobody wants to go through Tommy John. And not at the point of Shane Bieber's career, not at the point of Triston McKenzie's career. But mentally, it's very difficult to pitch as it is. To pitch through pain, which makes Shane Bieber's first 2 starts of the year all more amazing, but also to go on the mound and be in fear of getting hurt every time you throw a pitch. Like Danny Salazar went through that a lot in his career. He was always worried that his arm was going to explode, basically, and that affected him. And I think
it was a ticking time bomb. We all knew it was.
It was for him, but that's because Danny Salazar had a lot of other stuff going on.
Yeah, no, I mean, that was one we all knew was a ticking time bomb. Like that was just very clear. I think my takeaways from that article when it came to McKenzie, one, they had like 3 things they look for to, we're going to go get your UCL checked out. And he has 2 of the 3. Normally they go and get it checked out, which is velocity drops. And I believe, was it command? Control. Yeah. So his control's down. So apparently he doesn't have pain, because then they would have said it's 3 for 3. And then he would definitely, if he had pain plus the other 2, then he'd be shut down, because it would be a lot more likely that it isn't healing correctly. So we know there isn't pain there. And the other thing that kind of sticks out is I get why, McKenzie doesn't want to have that surgery. We've talked about on the show too that he's a unicorn, that like no one exists. Like there's always been concerns with his slight build. I've talked about, like, I remember sitting next to him in the press box in Akron as he was eating junk food just as a way to try to get more weight on his frame. He's always just a lean dude, and his build is going to be a concern. It's one of those things we talked about. This team chased unicorns maybe a little too long, but it worked with McKenzie and it worked with Ramirez. Espino maybe not as much. We'll see. There's still time for that to turn into a great situation. He could have his Junior Gauskas rebirth where it's all better from here.
I like that.
Right? Let's hope for that.
Come back and be Trevor Hoffman.
Yeah. Or who knows? There's a lot of ways it could go in a positive light, but I think he is definitely trying to show that he is fine. And unfortunately, the results aren't showing that.
They're not. I mean, I would think that as much as he thinks about it, that if he was pitching in pain, he'd say something.
Yes, agreed. I don't think there's pain.
I don't. But I do remember last year, Cal Quantrill pitching through a lot of shoulder pain because of the state of the rotation. When Cal Quantrill was hurting and still pitching last year, Bieber was out, Plesac was gone, and Savali was hurt. So like he knew and McKenzie was gone, so he knew he had to step up. And it didn't work out very well. So I'm not saying McKenzie's hurt, but you see that from a veteran that you respect, and maybe you feel the same way. But at the same time, like you said, I don't
think they would let him pitch.
Well, if he's not saying, I don't think Cal said anything either. But if he is pitching through pain, you're always doing things that not distract, but you can find ways around it to try to compensate. And who knows if that's affecting his control? I don't know. But I think it is a mental thing too. I think if you're always thinking about if you're going to get hurt, that's going to affect you because pitching is hard enough as it is. So
you can't be hesitant.
I don't know.
Or tentative. Yeah, that's the word I was looking for.
It's tough. And I think that's always been a part of him in the minors, even like the velocity we've seen over the years, even when he's healthy, the velocity does tend to wane a little bit. That's not the concern, but he has got to throw strikes, and that's been the biggest issue for him. He'll pitch Friday, so we'll see what happens. The Guardians say they're going to bump him back a day whenever they can. That's why he was the last starter this season. They've done everything they can to try to spread it out. And like we said, Triston McKenzie means a lot to this rotation right now, especially the way things are going. So will he be the pitcher to crack the streak of 12 straight?
Could be the most unlikely.
I thought Carrasco would be, but of course I won't text anything on Friday. I won't text it.
At least Carrasco's. McKenzie's arguably had the worst performances of the year.
Yes, Carrasco has been able to bob and weave his way to victory, or to better pitching. So McKenzie and Joe Boyle Friday night. Logan Allen.
Boyle's fun. Wood. That's been one of the guys I've loved for a long time.
Yeah.
Alex Wood, greatest player in University of Georgia history by WAR by a significant margin.
Oh, geez. Well, hopefully that'll change. We'll see. We'll talk about that a little bit. And then, the Guardians already beat up Alex Wood back in Oakland, and Tanner Bybee versus Ross Stripling, who they also beat up. And Tanner Bybee, hopefully, on to better starts. Jeff, I know you want to talk about some things. I'll just run down some things in college baseball this weekend, and I'll let you wrap it up. But some fun stuff this weekend. We've got Wake Forest and Florida State this weekend. So Nick Kurtz versus Jamie Arnold and Cam Lyther, who are two of the better pitchers in college baseball who are not draft eligible this year. So Nick Kurtz will face some high quality pitching this weekend for the first time, it seems like, outside of Duke. Texas A&M and Alabama, we get Ben Hess versus Braden Montgomery. That's an important one. And Travis Bazana might play this weekend. We'll see if he's healthy enough. It seems like he's going to be okay, though. And I'll just throw in there for some fun. Ohio State, Michigan play baseball this weekend. So go Bucks.
Now name one player in that game.
No.
Isn't Trey Lindsay like the outfielder? I'm blanking out on that.
Yes, that sounds right.
That's right. I do want to point out the other side of the Wake West Virginia. Is you get to see James Tibbs. Let's get Wake out of the way. This is for families against those Wake Forest arms, and Cam Smith as well. I know a lot of people have Cam Smith higher than James Tibbs, but Cam Smith I like him. Don't get me wrong, but he Ks a lot. He is a guy who I think is near the top of the country. And don't move the mic, Cat. It is not here for you to rub on. So yeah, I think that's fun, and I like different cat. This is
Yeah.
This is our youngest one, and I haven't really talked about Ferrier, Jamie Ferrier, maybe I'm blanking on his first name, but he's
Yeah.
another interesting guy in that lineup who's draft eligible. So Florida State's got some fun guys. Nice to hear that they're saying Bazana, it's a small thing. So I went there and crunched some numbers, and of course, then I closed the tab because I wanted to look and see how Cal Quantrell was doing this year. Answer is not good. I thought it was kind of interesting. So I went through, took top 15, top 10, top 5, and looked at the hitter data of right-handed versus left-handed hitters and just who has had wars of better than 8. I decided on 8 because, it's like Khalil Green is a little over 8, and it's like he had a decent run, and there's some other guys. Rocco Baldelli's at a 10. Cameron Maben somehow is at a 14 because that guy stuck around forever. But it gives you a separation point. And the interesting thing in the data, and this is something that maybe, all of you people screaming for right-handed bats will appreciate, is right-handed bats appear to actually be a little bit safer. This is from 2000 to 2014. Specifically, I stopped there because 2015 data, if I was looking at busts, people with career wars under 6, I would have to count Josh Naylor and Tyler Stevenson. And I think that's just because of lack of time, not because of ability. So I figured that's a good cutoff point there. So the other interesting thing that just stood out again is as much as people want to talk about ceiling, and we always get captured by ceiling, I'll go back to some work I did before, which is when you look at the pure data, I did something where I looked at players with WAR of 6 or better and then players with WAR of 12 or better. And if you're drafting in the first half of the first round, the players that have a WAR of 12 or better for college players, there is a higher percentage than just than prep hitters who hit at least a 6. So you have a better percentage, not just of them being, useful, but they actually are closer to the star level more than prep players are to being closer to average. So there's really no reason, unless you have a generational talent, which there has. I'll even argue back to Jackson Holiday wasn't that. There's a lot of changing the narrative in the last few years. He's fantastic. But college, let's just focus on the college guys. No, none of the prep guys are even in the conversation. Have some fun. Check out these games this weekend. To me, it is really a big 4. Check, if you can, watch Braden Montgomery, watch Nick Kurtz, watch Charlie Condon, and watch Travis Bazana if healthy. And if you want some fun, watch Jack Caglione, who just hit his 8th straight home run. There's still way too much chase for that guy to enter the conversation for me, but he is a lot of fun to watch. That being said,
hope the show was fun to watch.
Yeah, always, right? Like we have some fun. Make sure to comment and tell me what my random reference was in the show today. We appreciate everyone, all of our everydayers. Thank you for joining us, rating and reviewing, downloading. It helps. Any other comments, questions, drop them in as well. Thank you for being a Locked On Guardians everydayer, and go Guardians go.